Donald Trump thought these latest publicity stunts would make him look powerful. Instead, they may have completely backfired. Because over the past few days, something unusual has been happening across America. Even some longtime Trump supporters are starting to ask a simple question. What exactly is he doing? And honestly, once you see the details, the backlash starts making a lot more sense. From bizarre vanity projects, to talk of cage fights at the White House, to expensive Trump-branded merchandise turning into internet punchlines. What started as political branding is quickly turning into something much darker for Trump's public image. And the internet is absolutely tearing him apart over it. But that was only the beginning. Because the moment one poll surfaced online, the entire conversation exploded. And the numbers? They were brutal. So let's break this down. One of the biggest criticisms surrounding Donald Trump has always been his obsession with branding himself onto literally everything. Buildings, hotels, products, social media, campaign merchandise, even government-related spaces. Trump has spent years turning politics into personal branding. But now, many Americans appear completely exhausted by it. And recently, that frustration boiled over again after discussions emerged surrounding ideas connected to Trump-themed monuments, government branding, and even spectacle-style events tied to his public image. Critics immediately slammed the entire thing as narcissistic and wildly inappropriate. One of the loudest reactions came from political commentators and media personalities who openly mocked the idea of turning serious national institutions into what looked more like a Trump fan convention. And then, things got even weirder because reports began circulating about a proposed UFC-style event connected to White House grounds and celebrations surrounding America's 250th anniversary. The imagery alone stunned people online. An octagon cage, thousands of spectators, political theater mixed with entertainment spectacle. And social media instantly exploded with comparisons to a reality show. One commentator described it as gladiator battles inside a three-ring circus. Another compared it to something straight out of Idiocracy. And suddenly, critics weren't just accusing Trump of self-promotion anymore. They were accusing him of turning the presidency itself into entertainment. That backlash spread fast. Because for many Americans, the White House represents something sacred, the symbolic home of the presidency. And seeing conversations about cage matches, branding spectacles, and Trump-centered celebrations happening around it felt surreal to a lot of people, especially during a time when Americans are still struggling with inflation, rising costs, and economic anxiety. And this is where things got politically dangerous for Trump. Because the criticism stopped being just partisan outrage. It became exhaustion. Even commentators who normally focus on policy started asking why so much attention was being placed on Trump's personal image instead of economic concerns affecting ordinary Americans. And then, the polling numbers arrived. That's when the entire story shifted. One CNN segment in particular started spreading online after analysts revealed how unpopular many of these branding ideas actually were with the public. The numbers shocked people. According to the polling discussed on air, only a tiny percentage of Americans supported naming government buildings after Trump while he is still president. Just 9%. 9. That statistic immediately became viral ammunition online because commentators quickly pointed out something devastating. More Americans reportedly believe conspiracy theories like the moon landing being fake than support putting Trump's name on government buildings right now. That comparison spread everywhere. And for critics, it symbolized something much bigger. A growing sense that Trump's personal branding obsession was becoming politically toxic outside of his core base. But Trump wasn't prepared for what came next, because the internet turned the entire situation into a meme factory almost overnight. Every clip went viral, every joke spread, every comparison got harsher. And then an old story resurfaced that perfectly captured the mood surrounding Trump's image right now. A couple had reportedly spent more than $600 on a luxury Trump-branded watch. Sounds impressive, right? Except there was one problem. A huge problem. The watch reportedly arrived missing the letter T in Trump's name. Instead of reading Trump, it simply read Rump. And the second that story resurfaced online, social media completely lost it. People couldn't believe it. The jokes wrote themselves instantly. Late-night comedians piled on. Political commentators mocked it relentlessly. And critics argued that the story perfectly represented what they see as Trump's current brand: overpriced spectacle, constant self-promotion, and chaos hiding behind flashy marketing. Now look, on its own, a typo on merchandise might not seem like a major political story. But that's not why this went viral. It went viral because it symbolized something deeper. For critics, the failed watch became a metaphor for Trump himself. A massive image machine built around branding, attention, and ego, but increasingly falling apart under scrutiny. And honestly, what makes this entire situation worse for Trump is the timing. Because this backlash is happening while many Americans are focused on economic concerns, inflation, and political instability. So every time another Trump vanity project becomes the center of attention, critics immediately ask the same question: why is this the priority right now? That question is becoming harder and harder for Trump allies to answer, especially as approval numbers remain shaky and public frustration continues growing. And yet, Trump keeps doubling down. That's what makes this story so fascinating, because historically, when Trump gets criticized, he usually responds by escalating even harder. More branding, more spectacle, more outrage, more media attention. But this time feels different, because the backlash isn't just coming from political opponents anymore. It's coming from ordinary Americans who seem increasingly exhausted by the nonstop drama surrounding Trump's public image. And this is where things could become a real political problem moving forward. Because Trump has always thrived on dominating the conversation. But when the conversation shifts from strength to ridicule, that changes everything. Ridicule is dangerous in politics. Once people start laughing at a political figure instead of fearing or respecting them, public perception can change very quickly. And right now, that's exactly what seems to be happening online. The memes are spreading, the clips are going viral, the criticism is escalating. And stories like the Rump Watch are becoming symbolic of a larger narrative surrounding Trump's image problem. A narrative that says the spectacle is starting to collapse under its own weight. Now, whether Trump can recover politically from moments like this remains to be seen. He's survived scandals before. He's survived controversies before. And underestimating him politically has burned critics many times in the past. But one thing is undeniable. The backlash surrounding Trump's self-branding obsession is growing louder. And the more Americans struggle with real-world economic issues, the less patience many seem to have for political vanity projects and publicity stunts. By the end of all this, one thing became painfully clear. What Trump hoped would look powerful and iconic ended up looking bizarre, chaotic, and completely disconnected from what many Americans actually care about right now. And if this trend continues, this may only be the beginning of a much bigger political image problem for Donald Trump.